I feel so. Can people see this, or they can only hear us?
No, they can see this. So we just
I'm
started.
so sorry, guys. I apologize.
Yeah.
I just want to apologize to all of you. Please don't do
Yeah.
that.
So hey everyone, Zika Jam today here with David and Nader. So one of the most requested things when we started doing kind of this series was like, why is Carol wearing a shirt? Take his shirt off again. And as it so happens, actually David was the original person that kind of created the meme for me to take my shirt off. So this is the most appropriate.
Was subjected to this, I think, is alternate
Subjected.
phrasing. But yes, yeah.
So David is founder of JokeRace, knows a little about the attention economy and basically how to get founders to do weird things. Nader knows about kind of the more introverted side of crypto, how to get developers' attention. So
Nader's the greatest at the attention economy there is. I learned from him.
I don't know. I've been struggling. I feel like I've been struggling lately in that it's kind of like hard to keep up with some of the more prolific shit posters and posters period lately.
Yeah. No, I see that. Building is really just such a distraction from Twitter.
By the end of the day, I'm like, damn, I didn't tweet today because I've been working all day.
Yeah, down bad. Yeah.
So that would actually be a fun topic to explore, because I feel like over the last 2 months, even like attention has switched a lot, right? We went from everyone saying like founders need to yap all the time, like BD driven is more important in crypto, to then Kaito just completely gamifying it, and now it's like Laudio seems to like have gone even further to just being, I don't know how to even call that, like completely taking over attention on crypto Twitter. So maybe that's something interesting for us to explore. Like you guys are both experts on this, both in how to do it in a fun way, but also how to like actually leverage this for the greater good. So do you see this maybe like become more proper again? That will get like high quality content to take this center stage, or potentially are we kind of screwed, and is it just completely gamified now and the Pandora's box has been opened?
Yeah, I have strong opinions that are like, I think, unpopular about this, and I've tweeted about it a few times. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to really dive into here, but I mean, I think that the people that matter don't really care if like some random influencer starts talking about some random thing that they've never heard about. Like you might be able to measure that on a dashboard where you have like 1,000 people that automatically started talking about something, but like if you look at every other industry in the world, it doesn't really work that way. Like you might have an influencer go on Instagram wearing like a new Lululemon shirt that looks amazing, and everyone goes and buys that. That's influencer marketing. That's different than someone that doesn't really care about this thing starting to talk about it one day because someone paid them to. And I think like there's a clear differentiation like between that, because like I, like as a developer, kind of like try to stay in tune with everything that's happening in the space. And like a lot of this stuff is just so short term. But when you actually go to talk to developers on the ground, none of them are swayed by like some random influencer like shilling something. They want to build something that like makes them money, that gives them a job, that gets them funding. They want to build something that brings users, and that's kind of what they care about, right? And if they go and like try some new product out and the developer experience is amazing and they're able to build something quickly, like that's what they want. They don't really care like if someone is shilling and kind of like creating a meme that says GM, whatever the fuck the thing is of the day is. Like no one cares about that except for people that spend all their time on Twitter doing nothing, like but just like wasting their time. I don't know. Like I feel like it's kind of like really not that big of a deal, important to be involved in all this shit, to be quite honest. And I don't want to keep talking because I do have some opinions that actually maybe conflict with that a little bit in terms of like having a voice and like being public and building in public. But it's a lot different than having taking cash and paying people to talk about your thing that don't really give a fuck about what you're doing and they're just doing it for money.
Yeah, I think still, like for me at least, Twitter is where you find like the best research as well, at least like the first research being publicized, right? So for all of my friends who just finished computer science or kind of think of getting into blockchain or even AI, I always recommend them actually like do get on Twitter because if you want to like be on the pulse and actually see stuff like arriving the day kind of someone figured it out, that's still like the spot to be. Wondering, do you kind of think like maybe with crypto Twitter getting this loud and almost obnoxious sometimes, that we'll see like alternative like media like Mastodon and such, and like Lobster. Lobsters is very popular as well for developers to kind of aggregate high quality news.
I mean, I personally just mute people. Like I just mute and block so many people. And I think a lot of people do that as well. Like there are people that are just straight up shills. Like you can look and see that their motivation is purely based on like who they've invested in, who gives them money to say what. Like, and a lot of these people are like, you know, notable people in our community. I just mute those people. And then there's people that are the complete opposite. They're purely here for like some strong conviction. Those are the people I listen to the most, right? And there's everything in between. I listen to some of those people on both spectrums a little bit, to be honest. But for the most part, like I just disregard what they're saying for the most part, because I know they're just paid shills. And then the people in the middle, like, you know, they might be working for a company and like they can work anywhere in the world that they want, but they choose to work at that company. And the things that they say, I might listen to them because I know that they actually care and they're there for a reason, right? But yeah, it's kind of like, I don't think it's like a binary thing.
I think it's also tricky because like, not you're talking about the perspective of builders in the space, but like, you know, the point of KOL shilling is not to get builders to come build on them. Like, it would be cool if that was. It would be cool if people wanted others to come build on their product and their protocol, but that's never the point, right? Like you never hear someone being like, I want to get KOLs out there so more people know about our project and they come work with us and develop their apps with us. Like, no, the reason is so that people buy the token, right? And so the audience for that is like, you know, it's interesting because you're assuming, first of all, that they're on Twitter and that they are powerful enough to actually be able to pump this thing. And I think what's like more concerning is just like just how down bad all these altcoins are. Like that doesn't seem to be happening. Like it doesn't feel like retail necessarily has that kind of power to come in right now and just pump these coins because KOLs are shilling them. Like you know, it's helpful for an airdrop. It's helpful to get like distribution to people who are like part of your community. I do think like, you know, my ideal world is there are no airdrops, but as long as there are airdrops, like this kind of InfoFi stuff, I do think is a mass improvement over the kind of botting that we had before. But it's also like, it's interesting because it almost turns airdrop farming from like blue collar work to white collar work in some ways. Like before, like, you know, airdrop farming was like you get the bot and you do these rote actions and then people in the Philippines are able to farm and make some money. And like, as much as they're just going to dump and they're not meaningful community members, like it is cool that people in the Philippines are getting something. And like now it's literally like 50 people on Twitter, right, who are all just like have all day to tweet and don't seem to do anything else with their life besides tweet, who are like somehow the most incentivized, and they all seem to be like Americans living in Brooklyn or something. So it's like like I don't know. I have a lot of mixed feelings about this. I also think there's this thing that you see a lot in not just crypto, but like Twitter generally, which is like once you figured out the game no longer works. Like once there's a playbook for the game, like that playbook no longer works, right? And we see that all the time with like airdrops, where it's like, you know, for years you're trying to get one step ahead of the farmers by figuring out like some new way you're going to be able to reward people that they didn't anticipate in advance. But the moment you do that, then someone else learns the playbook, right? I think that's true for Twitter too. Like I think there's a way where it's like once there's a playbook for like attention, then that attention is no longer meaningful. And so like at first it was really, really cool to have these InfoFi projects that can like actually see, are your followers real? Are you engaged in technical conversation? Are you like saying something that's meaningful? Right. But like once there's a playbook where people start figuring out like what the code words are they have to say and how they can trick the AI, there's just this constant back and forth between like the AI and the human trying to trick each other. And quality lowers, right? Like as a result, I think as well. And so I don't know that like even compared to 3 months ago, these kind of rankings and ratings are as meaningful because they've gotten gamed, right? And because people figure out the playbook for them too. So I don't know. I have a lot of mixed feelings on this. I think there's a lot that's really cool about it. I think it is really nice to actually like give, you know, value to the people who actually are part of your community and like, you know, meaningfully building it. And that's something we're definitely thinking about all the time with JokeRace too, is like how we can be a tool for that. But at the same time, There's just so many reasons that the feed is shit right now. And like, I actually think yapping is probably getting blamed a little too much compared to all the other issues, like a shit algorithm, the fact that like actually interesting crypto stuff is not being done on Twitter at all. And like,
has been better lately for me. I don't know if and it's not like it's in the past. It was like purely base shilling, which was terrible for a while actually. But it's much better now, like relative to Twitter, in my opinion. But going on to like that last thing you were saying, I'm sorry to interrupt, and I'll stop talking after I mention this. But like, I think people so over-index on like the importance of Twitter, they don't realize that like they're, you know, like if the whole point is to like pump your token, what the fuck are we doing here? Because FDV of something like XRP is 220 billion, but the thing that you hear someone talking about for the last year and a half is 1 billion. So like, if you really think that this matter, or not you, I'm saying people, if people really think that this matters that much, then it's not logical, because it's logical to say, okay, like if I'm trying to pump a token and I'm going to pay people on Twitter to talk about blah, 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 all this bullshit, right? Like then you would say, okay, why am I doing this? Because there's an example of someone creating a token and it becoming worth a lot of money because of this happening. But when you actually look at the reality of things, the FDVs, a lot of these tokens that people are paying for, like in the hundreds of millions. But the thing no one talks about, like XRP, is like hundreds of billions. Then like it doesn't make sense. So like, what did XRP do? What did Solana do? Like, what did Bitcoin and Ethereum do to kind of make them valuable? Well, it's a fucking like shitload of like long, complex work. It's daily grinding. It's improving the product. XRP has its own thing, like with regulatory stuff and like
centralization.
But they did work, right? Like they did some work, even if you hate and it's a scam, blah blah blah, whatever. Like they put in years of work, right? So like, I think the companies that I'm super bullish on are the ones that are like have professional teams behind the scenes doing the work, improving the product, doing something that actually matters, and not wasting their time on Twitter talking about some bullshit.
I also think it's interesting, like it feels like we're in a moment of like complete capitulation to cynicism. Like there's just this acceptance that like the product working, having users, like building revenue just doesn't matter. Like all that matters is token price, and token price is a product of attention, right? And it's like, it makes sense why we've arrived here. Like Bitcoin, first of all, is exactly that. Like Bitcoin is just an attention like token that has outperformed everyone, right? And it is like literally a Ponzi, and it's the greatest Ponzi ever built because it's built off of like people continuing to give it attention. And so when you have that meme coin, you have that on one side and you have meme coins on the other, and they're the same thing, right? It's like, okay, we're like looking at the market and we're like, there's this single valuable asset, then there's this long tail, but actually they're all meme coins. Shouldn't everything be a meme coin? And then you look and you're like, oh wait, no one can make money in this industry either, right? Like the you know, B2B products and like infra like are just struggling to get revenue, and like it's not really there. And there's an expectation you're not supposed to earn revenue because that's extraction. You're supposed to give it up to your users. And so I think like, you know, we arrive at this moment of capitulation where we're like, actually mimetics is everything. And so if mimetics is everything, then the attention economy is everything, then we need to bribe KOLs. And then the whole game is just trying to, you know, build out a meme coin community for your product, right? And like whatever cool tech you're working on is part of the meme, like, and that's kind of the base layer for it. And like, there is a lot of truth to that, and that's definitely what has happened. And like, if you arrive at that cynical conclusion, like, I can't blame you, because the market has definitely proven that over the past year. But like, at the same time, this always happens historically. Like, there always are bubbles for 5 or 10 years where like everything gets valued based on mimetics, right? And then eventually it collapses, and you return to like things actually getting valued on revenue. And like tech has gone through this so many times, right? And this is accelerating, and we're seeing it now. It's like, now what are the things people are actually excited by? It's pump fun, it's hyper liquid, it's like apps that actually build revenue, right? And so it's like, I think that's a threat to the kind of mimetics model. Like once we actually have, you know, real companies that actually do build revenue, then it's a lot harder to just start grading everything else based on mimetics, right? When you actually have sustainable value somewhere. And so I'm actually like, I'm really trying not to play these short-term games. I think it's really easy to play a lot of short-term games with like mimetics and everything being meme coin and coining everything. And like, all of this just feels like, you know, what crypto's done really well for 10 years, which is short-term Ponzi's. And like, I think a lot of the KOL attention stuff is just a way to kind of like try to extend the Ponzi another month or two. But like, that's not really my interest.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. I do disagree that like everything necessarily was a meme coin or a meme asset and a Ponzi in crypto. I actually think like a lot of some of the OG products and still products being built are indeed intended to like generate revenue. If at some point you just say like a user pays for this, right? Then you have a proper product, right? And if you struggle to explain like who's paying for this or where's the yield coming from, you have a big issue. I do have to say with all of this InfoFi and Kaito, one thing that I really like to see as a founder is kind of these initial community members that started out with like 300 followers. And I was almost able to track them. Like, are they secretly like yapping about 10 projects at the same time? Or is this just a guy who's really excited by what we do and seeing like kind of these like small initial accounts that have been with us for like a year and a half now become like kind of your own KOLs, right? Like we have one guy, Goku, right now is at like 5K followers from I think 300 originally, who's only been talking about union writing guides, etc. So something like that I do find fun, but that's finally something that actually you get a bit of insight in and be able to track that. But then you have to weigh that against accounts that you see coming in who are indeed shilling about 20 projects at the same time. We just know, okay, this is just someone indeed making sure they're on every board.
Totally.
I mean, chilling's fine, but be thoughtful about it. Like, you know, I don't actually have an issue with like, if you want to pay people to do your marketing for you, that's fine, but the marketing should be good. Like, I think that's really what it comes down to. It's like, I don't have a problem with people paying marketers and understanding that today the marketers are not necessarily agencies. They are just rando users who are willing to put in the time. But like, it needs to be good quality that you're paying for. And I think like the bigger concern, right, is that like there's just a lot of scam projects that there's nothing interesting you could say about them that are incentivizing this. And then of course the quality is bad because they're really hard to market well. But like, yeah, paying everyday users to be your marketers instead of an agency, like that kind of transition I'm okay with. It's just a question of like what it does to our feed when the marketing is bad.
Exactly, yeah. And if you're listening and thinking about yapping, at least have some consistency as well. Don't like on one day be shilling modular and a many chain world and shared security, and then the next day shilling there should only be one blockchain, right? Like I obviously blatantly shill my own project all the time, right? Like I believe in what I'm building, I believe in the stuff I invest in. So of course, like shill what you believe in, but at least like have some like consistency in what you're selling out there. Yeah. So I feel like with like Kaito and the attention economy, at least for like regular users, it's become maybe a bit clearer in which projects are running up in like vanity metrics, right? So like going back to like what is a farmer or what is an early buyer like look for when they look for those sub 1 billion market cap coins, maybe to find the next XRP. That's kind of what they're hunting, right? Certain vanity metrics to keep track of. But I feel also with this, it's become a bit more difficult for perhaps, or maybe easier for developers to choose an ecosystem as well. Because at the start, you're kind of like developers don't care about this. But I kind of want to go back to that and say like, well, I've seen like more engineers recently start tweeting about, hey, like I was wrong. Like it's maybe not just the coolest tech that I should be building on, but if I start like a new project, I just have to scope out like what's my potential user base here, right? Sure, I might find a chain really cool, but if there's not sufficient KOLs, shillers, founders out there, then I need to find like every single user myself. And so I do see this actually becoming a metric for them to choose which ecosystem they use.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of variables, and it does kind of depend, because if you look at what's happened over the last few years, I mean, there's been multiple examples of things that become extremely hyped because of, I would say, short-term incentives, like Blast, for example, that like once those short-term incentives like went away, they didn't have a clear product differentiator. And then there's also examples of people that have built just great applications that no one even cares or knows actually like what the underlying protocol is, Polymarket, for example. So I think like but if you're building like a DeFi protocol that maybe, I don't know, like that you want to tap into like a lot of liquidity or something, like that would be one consideration, but that's like a deeply crypto native application. So I think it kind of just depends, on what you're building. But I mean, there is something to that, that's for sure. But I think like ultimately the route that we're heading, in my opinion, well, I wouldn't say it's the only route, but a route that we're heading is more around, we want to make make it easier as possible to build the best quality applications in the entire world, and the user shouldn't care or know like what chain it's on or what underlying infrastructure it's using at all, because the application itself is just an enhancement to like what exists out there. Great examples of this would be like zk-TLS applications. There's tons of apps now like that are out there. Some of them are the very top of the app store. Normie people are using them. They don't care or know that it's using zk-TLS into the hood. It just is a really cool app, and it provides them value. I think like, you know, that's kind of the area that I'm more excited about. I think though for DeFi, like deeply crypto native stuff, there is something to that though. For example, like I think Hyperliquid and HyperEVM, a lot of people want to build on HyperEVM, and we're actually talking to a lot of those developers, and they're inclined to build there because of the momentum of the hype that they see on social media. But it's real hype. Like this is different than like Hyperliquid doesn't have a fucking like Kaido leaderboard that they're paying people to go shill for. They literally have a great product and everyone loves it and everyone's talking about it. That's kind of the stuff that I'm excited about. But I think there's always nuance, like, right, there's nuance between all this stuff.
Yeah, because for the Hyper EVM, I haven't actually seen like that much liquidity or products on it yet that are doing extremely well. Like it still feels like Hyperliquid itself is taking like 99% of the
I
user
believe
base.
HyperEVM is like a few months old though, right?
Yeah,
it's still very recent. Yeah.
I mean, I think give it a year. Like I think give it at least a year and a half.
There's stuff being built there, which is impressive because I don't know. You probably know more about this, but I've heard the dev experience is not great yet. But like
it's not like a lot of them are building on other test nets and then deploying. So I mean, but I think like
we'll improve it.
Yeah, I mean that's like who knows, but like right now I am talking to tons of developers. Like I have a list of about 75 developers that I'm having one-on-one meetings with just in the HyperEVM ecosystem that I'm like talking to about building on EigenLayer that I've identified through just a single tweet. I just sent a tweet out saying, hey, who's building on the HyperEVM? And like my DMs blew up and my DMs are closed. So these are all people I was already connected to. And then I had around 100 responses, multiple people tagging like 5-10 people. So I mean, there's and one of them has a product that has hundreds of millions of dollars and TVL. Let me see if I can find the name of that product. But there's something there. But yeah, it's early, it's untested. Like the Blast had similar like hype and momentum at some point, right? So who knows? But
no, but Blast didn't actually have users or like revenue. So
exactly, exactly, yeah.
Also difference in founder caliber, I would say, between like some of the greatest founders and some of the worst founders you've ever encountered in this space.
So now I'm kind of curious, like as a builder, how do you then combine EigenLayer and Hyperliquid? Like what do you see for them to combine? What's some cool stuff you can do?
So it's more like the HyperEVM, and basically we actually have a post coming out explaining this. But I think a lot of people think about EigenLayer with the EVM, but in reality, we already have actual bridges on Hyperliquid. We have Berachain applications. We have Solana applications, base applications. You can build anything that you could possibly imagine on any network just using EigenLayer. So like I would say oracles would be a great example of something that is very like in demand across almost every network. So if you wanted to build like a custom prediction market on Hyperliquid or HyperEVM, I would say, and you need to kind of bring some verification for like real world information on HyperEVM, then EigenLayer could be used there.
Okay, cool. I kind of want to be nerd snapped by this. Like right now for EigenLayer, there's a certain economic stake behind it, right? So you secure your oracle with restaked ETH in this sense. Do you guys like broaden this out to various other assets to be more aligned with that ecosystem? Or when I like build an app on HyperEVM, I'm still like secured by restaked ETH for this?
Any ERC20 token can be used as economic security. At the moment, I believe it's Ethereum. The token needs to be deployed on Ethereum, but it could be any ERC20 token. And there are also products out there that allow you to kind of stake across chain. So you can stake Solana through it used to be Nuffle. I forgot the name of it. They kind of renamed it to something else now. But ultimately we want to make it, and it's not us. Like we're not going to probably own this, but other platforms, a lot of other platforms are building to where they can essentially stake like Hype, for example, and secure their AVS.
Okay, cool. That's something that we want to look into with Union. We got an announcement coming up on our governance system, but effectively we do a kind of cross-chain governance, cross-chain stake as well, because our like chain sequencer does have like its own consensus, but on this we don't want to actually have like users interact with that execution environment. That's more for relayers and provers. So we built our own mechanism to do like a cross-chain staking and governance. So would love afterwards to chat with you, see if there's potential integrations here.
I would love that. We totally should do that.
Yeah.
Let's totally chat.
Okay, so for developers, indeed, like a bit of the intention, like that's something that they're looking into. That's something they're chasing down. David, do you maybe see like with JokeRace, like developers or teams like smartly using InfoFi yet? Like, have you seen a change throughout last 3 to 6 months on how JokeRace is being used?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think there's a lot to say here. So we're actually about to make our biggest announcement, I think, really ever in an hour. And so this is that we now are enabling voter rewards, or what we call vote and earn. And what that effectively means is that if people vote on winners, then they can earn. So they will buy up as many votes as they want. Money will go into a rewards pool. Rewards pool goes to people who voted on the winner. And now they have to actually they're incentivized, right? So like imagine you do a demo day, right? Now people actually will be incentivized to watch and engage and figure out who all these people are in the demo day, because if they vote on the winner, they can earn, right? And so I think about it like, it's very similar to futarchy in the sense where it's like, Vitalik has argued for over 10 years now that like the best way to make decisions is to open them up to markets where people actually like have to put a stake in on what they think everyone else thinks is the best option. And when you start doing this kind of wisdom of the crowds of making everyone think about each other's opinion and about what is best for the group, by putting a financial stake on it, you can have the best decision. I'm actually not that interested in that. Like the question of like what is a good decision versus what is a not good decision, I think is totally subjective, and that's something I've learned over time. What I'm interested in is attention, and I'm interested in like incentive loops, right? So like what I'm interested in is like, okay, now you have the demo day, and there's actually thousands of people who will actively engage in watching this and caring about these projects and learning about them because there's something financially at stake for them, right? In that. And so like I think about it as like a kind of almost like marketing attention mechanism, where I think what we've just repeatedly seen with JokeRace is like we have really good product market fit for contest creators who want to be able to build community. We have really good product market fit for people who want to enter into contests, and the missing piece has really been voters, right? And like how do we incentivize them to come out and actually care in a way that you're not just having people buy votes for themselves, right? Because that kind of defeats the purpose. And so yeah, you asked me about the past 3 to 6 months. I think this is like, it's part of what I'm calling persuasion markets is like the broader term for this category. And like, I actually think like persuasion markets, we're not the only ones in this kind of category. I do think it's been a really hot category over the past 3 to 6 months, but nobody's labeled it like this. And so we've kind of missed out. There's actually been this whole movement towards like what I would call persuasion markets. Like noise, for example, right, is like you can trade perps on like Mindshare. Like that's persuasion market. What I mean is like you have financial incentive to go out and persuade other people of your beliefs, right? Like if you put some sort of like investment on noise, now you want to go share that, spread the word about that thing, so the Mindshare increases and you're going to get a return. And so that's actually like an incentive mechanism to get people to go and market in an interesting way where it lets them choose, right? Like what they're interested in already and what they like. I think there's other stuff like, opinions.fund, and then there's like Mealy, and there's there's the futarchy stuff, and there's upside on base, like all of these in different ways are thinking about like how do we take kind of the prediction market dynamics, which are for objective outcomes, but apply them to subjective outcomes, right? Based on Mindshare, persuasion, etc. And then how does that create like a social game where people are actually incentivized to like have fun by building teams, working together, convincing each other of their beliefs in a way that's like enjoyable. And so, yeah, I'm really excited for this because I do think it relates a lot to what we're talking about with this kind of Kaido conversation. But the difference is like the Kaido thing is like you just get paid for shilling, right? And I think like what's interesting in this is like you only make money if you actually do a really good job of persuading people and like working together and like creating teams and having fun in it. And like that's the game to play. So like overall, the other thing to remember with crypto, right, is like overall someone's losing money. Like either you're subsidizing people with airdrops, or there's a casino and like, you know, people are like losing money to the house or something. And like I also just think what's been really devastating about the timeline recently, and like what's just kind of hard about this space, is like it's not that fun. Like you know, if you're gonna lose money, it has to be fun. And it like any casino in Vegas knows, like, yeah, people come in here, they'll lose money, but at the end of the day, they got drinks, they got to see beautiful showgirls, they got to go to a show, they had cool music, you know. It's like there was something about that experience that was exciting for them, that was worth spending money on, right? And so a lot of what I think about now is just like, how are we building this thing to be fun for people in ways that like actually feel socially rewarding for them? And I think that for me is the future.
Yeah. So if I understood correctly, in this case, like indeed not looking for the outcome of a vote to necessarily be like the truth behind it. It's more about which like votes actually accrue attention here, which I guess in the end, if you're doing a contest, is still good, right? It's because people will make up their own minds, but as long as you're seen, right, that's still good for a project.
Yeah, so this is just the V1 that we're shipping today. The V2 I think is going to be much more exciting, and kind of like really incentivizing people to stick with their beliefs and convictions. But like even in the V1, it's really exciting to think about like the dynamics, even from like game theory perspective. So like what technically happens is like they buy up as many votes as they want. 70% goes into a rewards pool. JokeRace takes 30%. That's actually really important that we take 30%. It's high, but it's important because otherwise you would have whales that just came in, and it's like at the end of any vote, they would put $1 million into whatever the number one was, and then they would just automatically win by putting it into first place, and then get everyone else's money, right? And they would just extract from everyone else. But like if they have to pay a 30% tax on their own money, it's not worth it to them to do that, right? And so like from a game theory perspective, it gets really interesting because like you, on the one hand, want other people to come out and vote for you, or vote for the same thing you're voting on, right? Because then you're going to win and you will earn. On the other hand, the only way you make money is by getting money from everyone else who's losing it, which is everyone else who voted on other options. So people coming in, you don't make any money from people supporting your option. You make money from people supporting the other options. And so this interesting like kind of game theory develops where it's like on the one hand, you want to persuade other people of your beliefs. On the other hand, you actually want more people to participate who are opposed to you, and it actually like incentivizes some sort of diversity. Same thing is true where it's like once any entry has 70% of the vote, it's no longer worth voting for it. Like it will now, if you vote on that an entry and it gets 80% of the votes, but only 70% of the pool, you've actually lost money. So like there's an incentive here for diversity of opinion and for like getting people to like actually go out and like share the contest, or, you know, and potentially trick each other and get them to vote for other ones too. And it's like, I think it creates almost like, it's a game, right? And it's like any game has to have like some, I think, you know, level of like forming allies versus like, you know, betrayal, like allyship versus betrayal. And like, I think that's part of the game here too. But like the end game, right, is like you have that demo day, anyone's incentivized to watch and actually think, yeah, what is everyone else here going to vote for? Like what else, what is the best project here? Like what is everyone else going to think the best project is? And how can I discover that so that I can earn?
Yeah, effectively a bit of like a dark forest economics added to it. I guess indeed, like with Kaito, there's just nothing at stake, right? Like someone can just chill whatever they want, and technically, like it will just earn them yaps. You're never losing something on this.
Kaito's actually really cool, and I really like Kaito, and so I feel a little bad like hating on it. The issue with what we're talking about isn't Kaito. The issue what we're talking about is airdrops. Like fundamentally, what it comes down to is like this idea that companies should just be paying off users for rote actions. Like this is an insane thing that never has happened before, and like this only happens in crypto, where we have this idea that like users shouldn't pay companies should pay users. And it's like, sure, a customer acquisition cost makes sense. If a user's doing work and they're actually like marketing, it makes sense to pay them. But like we've gotten into this model like completely where no one wants to build revenue, because what they would much prefer is like a Ponzi that's continually able to getting like a token that they can like send to other people to send to other people to send to other people.
Yeah, and I want to reiterate, like I'm not saying like Kaito is a bad company or bad product, or that they're evil or anything. It's kind of too good at what it does, right? Like it just
Kaito is incredible. Yeah, Kaito has a lot of potential too, and these guys are some of the most cracked engineers, product designers, like 100%. Everything all in one. And they're going to continue to evolve and improve the product, and it's going to be something like hopefully that is more positive some down the road. And I know that they have to be thinking about it, because the current like state of this is more like zero sum. So I think like how can they make this better so it's more of like a long-term thing, because we've seen how a lot of these zero sum products happen in crypto. They kind of like have their big hype cycle and then they go away. But if you look at something that's more, I would say, like long term, then it needs to be more like, I would say, positive sum. And I think that they have the team that can kind of pull something like that off. I think like something that might make sense would be to kind of attach more of like a score based on the credibility and the reputation of someone beyond who's following them and who they follow. Because I can now, because I like happened to be on crypto Twitter 7 years ago, or whatever, how many years ago, I happen to now have a lot of smart followers. And if I wanted to, I could just go and just like airdrop farm the shit out of everyone and just tweet about everything and game the system, whatever, because like I can tweet about the thing of the day and make money. But no one like would want to kind of like follow those people. And that's kind of what's kind of happening right now, a little bit, right? So I think like, how can we make this more to where there is like, more reputational risk. So I would think it'd be really cool to kind of see that as part of this.
Yeah, so that almost feels like Kaito has the same challenges as Solana kind of has, right? It's like, sure, pump.fun is great for like getting a lot of transactions in on your chain, but I guess like in the end, it's kind of zero sum or even net negative for small users who just keep losing money, right? And you kind of concentrate Solana in the hands of the pump.fun founders in the end, and you have to transition.
I think that's not a good analogy, because the difference is that Solana is just a permissionless platform, and while they have like retweeted and like helped advertise some of these more what people would consider extractive things, at the end of the day, like anyone can build anything, and if that could have been built on Ethereum, the Ethereum people would have like killed for that to have happened, because it brings more like activity and stuff, right? Like that's the way I look at it, but I see where you're coming from. So I don't know.
It's something you want to long-term transition, I mean. So it's like, it's while you have it, it's great, but it's not something where you can say this is a product that, well, maybe it will last for like 20 years, right? And we'll just keep on attracting new users nonstop. But I feel like it's like too extractive for that at some point, right? Like people will get bored with it and pour in the end. And so you need to transition your ecosystem to something next. And with Kaito, it kind of feels the same, where they indeed need to like transition it to something that works better now that they own the space.
There is an argument you could probably make that almost really every successful product right now is like a launchpad for Ponzi's. It's like the Ponzi's will come and go, but the launchpad is eternal, because there'll always be more Ponzi's that people want to create, right? So like, I think you could probably argue pumped up fun is like that. You could then argue that Solana is that because it has pumped up fun, right? And you could argue that Kaito is that too. And like, I think it's more nuanced than that. Like, I do think it's, there's more to it than that, and it's more complex. But like, there is a way where it's like the game everyone is trying to play is a Ponzi game. Like they're trying, and like, look, it's interesting if you look at something like Sui, which God knows what games they played to get the $32 billion valuation with like, some builders, but like, I don't think anyone would argue like, Sui is outperforming, I don't know, let's say Anisha, right, or something, which has built like incredible tech and is like 1/50th the valuation. What's interesting though with Sui is like, because they managed to prop up this token price for so long, now people want to go and build there. So there is this argument too, right, where it's like, you fake it till you make it. Like if you can get enough attention on you because of the token price, that can drive meaningful adoption long term. Ripple's kind of been playing that game for 10 years too. And so like it'll be interesting to see like how that turns out.
Which, to be honest, like if you're listening and you think shit, crypto is like depressing and fake, this is also like how it's kind of worked in the real world. Like Tesla for a long time was like insanely propped up with barely any revenue.
It still is. Yeah. Tesla's still a meme coin, right? As a stock. Like you look at it, how it's trading versus like, revenue projections, everything. It's just like there's no other stock that is remotely close to that, right? So it works. Like, yeah, you want to be a meme coin at some level. It's like if you can be a meme coin, like you can be worth so much more than you could otherwise. I mean, it was like when they were, there was that great post on like, Tolly has like his NFTs on time.fun, right? So you can like buy time with him. but then you could actually like calculate the market cap of Totally. You could be like, okay, what if you bought up all the NFTs, like, and you treated that just like a token, like what's his market cap? And it's like, oh, it's much less than if you launched a meme coin.
Wait, how much does it cost to get time with Totally?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I forget. It's like a few $1,000s. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty cool. But it's like, it's also interesting, right, that like his market cap is less with the utility function than it would be with the meme function, right? And so I think that's where we always land, where it's like, yeah, like if you can be a meme coin, that's way better. You know, it's just the Silicon Valley meme all over again. It's like you want the pure play. You don't want to be valued based on revenue.
Yeah, 100%. All right, guys, I think we're nearing the end of our time slot. So I find this an extremely interesting discussion. I think we got really real. Maybe some closing words from both of you on how you see this evolve, and maybe a positive outlook as well on the space. Especially you, David. I felt like you feel like it's a bit cynical at the moment in crypto. Do you see it improving, and how?
Yeah, actually, I'm feeling really good about crypto right now because I feel like we have apps that actually have revenue, and like are actually being used, and like people are having fun with them, and it's just the beginning of that. But like, no, I think it's, you know, mimetics has been the only way you could value anything until now, and like now they're actually all alternatives, and I think it's a little scary for the mimetics game, especially the altcoin game right now, to face that prospect. But like, it's also really fucking great that like there's cool shit, and like, I don't know, the past 3-4 months of like just what I'm building have been the most exciting in my life, because it's like we can really build something that anyone can use, and it's like that was not possible in crypto until now. Like you can go on our site, if you have no crypto experience, you can stay entirely within the app, and we will guide you through, you know, a wallet you create in the app, funds that you add in the app, right? And it's like without relying on some of those dependencies of a lot of embedded wallets to do it. And that's really fucking cool. It's just like, it's nice to know that you can build something that anyone can come and use. And so I'm, you know, the thing I'm most focused on is like, how do we make this fun? Like the end game is like, if you want people to spend money, it's either something they need or something that they like. And like, it's easy to forget that, but like, I would like to build something that they like.
Hell yeah. I just realized my microphone was on the wrong mic this whole time, but anyway, I fixed that. But we're done. Anyway, yeah, I'm really excited and bullish on everything at this moment, more than ever, by far, actually. But like, and I seem to be hard on the whole InfoFi, SocialFi space, but it's exponentially better than like what we had maybe a year ago, where people were just like getting paid under the table to show stuff. It's a lot more transparent now. That's great. It'll only get better. I'm like really huge fans of the Kaido team. They're just great. And I think like they've taken so much product feedback and made quick improvements that I'm really excited about like where this will ultimately head with a team like that that's leading the charge. So really, really, you know, excited to kind of see like what they end up doing with all this. And they have the funding, the money, the token, and the momentum. And I think they're gonna like, you know, hopefully continue to make this an interesting, positive thing for the entire industry, but we'll see.
Yeah, I fully agree with the sentiments. To be honest, I've never been more bullish on crypto as a whole. It feels a little bit like maybe we will go through a phase where we have like these almost pre-dot-com boom crypto tokens, where we go like, yeah, these ran on memetics, and then the post ones, which are kind of like appearing now and becoming big now, like the current tech giants, where you go, this is actually like a proper tech company. There's like multiple real products behind this, and a much more respected space. So we'll have like the pet.coms from the first couple of cycles and what's being built right now. And I vote for you, David, as well. Like I hold some Inisha, like it's amazing like what builders are making right now, how much work has gone into it.
You can also, I mean, yeah, you guys are killing it. So yeah, there's real shit that also, I think, you know, it's also like, I feel like I've been hating a little bit on infra, like token value. But the fact is like, what's so exciting now is that we have infra that works. Like that's never been true before. And it's like to be able to have stuff like Union, EigenLayer. I mean, like, yeah, this is fucking cool to be at that point in history now. Because it's like, this is the shit we dreamed of for like 6 years, and we couldn't build apps with revenue, right? Until they had this kind of stuff. So like, it's, I don't know. I'm quite bullish on everything in crypto except crypto Twitter, I would say.
All right, great. Then guys, thank you so much for coming on and enlightening us. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Whatever.
Thanks, gents. Cheers.
Cheers.